flood.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Good morning and welcome to Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. It's the 16th day of August 2024, and I'll make you welcome to Africa's Finest Breakfast Show, Global Morning on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu, saying thank you for being part of our lives. And indeed, we are ready to ensure that your day is truly beautiful, giving you all the big stories making the rounds, getting you well informed and educated so that when you step out, you can get your business done with so much ease, and wishing your entire family the very best of today. We'll be highlighting some of the talking points making the rounds in Nigeria and across the globe. We'll also be giving you some feel of taste and texture, making sure you have some very new, exciting meals for you and your beautiful family. Also, we'll be bringing sports business along the way, just to get you more informed with the figures and statistics so that you can dot your I's and cross your T's as you do your business of the day. There's no doubt that one of the most talked about issue currently in Nigeria and across the world is the fact that the Chinese company, talking about the Nigerian government, that has faulted the seizure of the presidential jet in France, which has to do with the Chinese company, had sought several orders from the court over an aborted contract between the company and Ogun State government, which was initiated in 2007. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, described the French court order attaching Nigeria's presidential jet as a result of the arm-twisting tactic by the Chinese company. Onanuga highlighted the various efforts the federal government and the Ogun State government had made to resolve the matter. Very, very disturbing, just a very big embarrassment to the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria. So we'll be looking at this talking point holistically in the course of today's program. We'll also be having some civil society organizations come join us as we also discuss food sufficiency. Recently, the federal government and the Nigerian army said they had deployed troops across the northern, central, western, and parts of the country to protect farmers and their farmland so that food sufficiency can improve. And the big question, lots of agricultural export and food sufficiency chieftains have said is that the most viable or strategic way for Nigeria to improve its food sufficiency drive. So we'll be looking at the kinetic and non-kinetic approach to this matter and how sustainable it is. And just yesterday, Africa's largest black nation, talking about Nigeria, got a new, Chief Justice of the Federation, in the person of Kudirat Ekere Ekun, who has been earmarked to become the new Chief Justice of the country. We're looking at what her reign is to bring and the burden that will be upon her, and knowing that recent, research showed that the judiciary is targeted as one of the most corrupt agencies in in Nigeria. All right, so those are some of the issues we'll be looking at on today's edition of the program, Global Morning. We'll go for a very quick break and probably do some business of the day. Then when we return, we'll be talking about, hopefully we'll be going through what the papers are saying this morning so that you're well informed about the big stories in Nigeria. Stay with us.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
All right, welcome back from that very quick break. It's time for us to look at what the papers are saying this morning in Nigeria. We'll be looking at some national dailies. We will kickstart with the Daily Trust. But before we do that, just to let you know that the quote of today says that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. That's words of Zig Ziglar, just to get you inspired, just to get you up your feet and ensure that whatever task you've got for the day, don't look at how high it is, but the fact that once you start, you're going to get to the finish line. So always keep that in mind throughout the rest of the day. Remember, you don't have to be great to start, but you need to start to be great. Zig Ziglar says that. That's a German name. All right, let's look at what the papers are saying now, beginning with the Daily Trust. This morning, we've got very interesting highlight of headlines there. Petrol pump price nears 1,000 naira per litre in the FCT and states. That's the big headline story there from the Daily Trust. Petrol pump price nears 1,000 naira per litre in the FCT and states. We also got subheadings, supply on and off nationwide. Civil society organization knocks NNPCL. National oil company silent. Very disturbing that the national company, talking about the NNPCL, is silent on the fact that fuel is hitting 1,000 naira per litre. Civil society organizations knock NPCL. All right, other headline stories as presidential jet is a rider there. It says federal government Ogun rebuff Chinese firms' claims. Is the big story there. Presidential jets is a rider. Federal government Ogun State rebuff Chinese firms' claims is the headline story there. We've got mixed feelings as inflation drops in July. That's the headline story from the Daily Trust. And we've got monkeypox is a rider. Federal government puts Abuja, Kanu, Lagos, 6 others on high alert. Looking at the health sector there, Mpox, very disturbing, now a global pandemic. As the federal government puts Abuja, Kanu, Lagos, and 6 other states on high alert. So it means as you step out, be careful. Monkeypox is in Nigeria. All right, I've got some other interesting headline stories. NJC okays Kekere Ekun as CJN and 28 others as judges. Congratulations, a big tax awaits the new CJN, Kekere Ekun, who would be stepping into, I don't know whether to call it the big shoes of XY CJN of Nigeria, Kayode Aruola. So the judiciary is not having it easy in terms of reputation currently in the country, being adjudged as one of the most corrupt agencies of government. All right, still looking at headline stories making the rounds. We're still with, we've got the Daily Trust. Let's see what the Daily Trust, some other headlines coming from the Daily Trust says. Flood is the rider there. 3.7 million Kano residents and 362 communities at risk, says Neymar. That's the big headline story there. It says flood is the rider, 3.7 million Kano residents and 362 communities at risk, says 227,494 persons affected in 27 states. Jigawa death toll hits 22. That's very disturbing, talking about flood there. And grab a copy of the Daily Trust and you find those big headline stories making the rounds. All right, we've got the Nigerian Tribune up next for review. Let's see what the Tribune says. It says, NJC recommends Kekere Ekun as CJN and 28 others as judges. Find page 5 is where you find that story. Despite rising price of items, MBS says inflation rate drops to 33.40%, still very on the high side. Despite rising price of items, National Bureau of Statistics says inflation rate drops by 33.40%, quite on the high side. And page 6 is where you find that big story. Anger as French court orders seizure of 3 presidential jets. That's the headline story on the Nigerian Tribune. Big story there says, anger as French court orders seizure of 3 presidential jets. Page 2 is where you find that big story making the rounds. Over dispute between Ogun State, Chinese firm, federal government has no contractual obligations with the Chinese firm, says presidency. Very disturbing there and embarrassing to Nigeria. All right, let's look at other stories there. It says Nigerians are hungry. due to failure of government, Afe Babalola speaks. Nigerians are hungry due to failure of government, backs Patriots call. All right, looking at what the Nigerian Tribune is saying, backs Patriots call for new constitution. Afe Babalola is talking this morning, saying Nigerians are hungry. If you would not hear the protesters and bad government protesters, surely the federal government would listen to Afe Babalola speaking this morning. All right, Senator denies receiving 21 million naira as salary and allowances. Page 3 is where you find this interesting story. Senate denies receiving 21 million naira salary and allowances, says running costs not peculiar to National Assembly. Page 3 is where you find this story. All right, looking at that's what the Nigerian Tribune has in store for us. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper this morning as we look at the big stories making the rounds. In case you're just joining us, you're watching Global Morning on Global Television on channel 365 on DSTV. All right, let's look at the Guardian. We've got some very interesting Guardian headlines there. Rinse and repeat is the kicker there. Nigeria awaits Los Angeles Olympics after Paris 9 billion naira poll outing. Coming from the sporting angle, Nigeria awaits Los Angeles Olympics after Paris 9 billion naira poll outing. We can see the picture story of the Nigerian cyclist who had to borrow a bike from a German competitor because the Nigerian Sports Federation could not provide for the Nigerian cyclists. Very disturbing. And picture story of athletes, the relay men's 4x400 meters in despair after being disqualified for impeding on a South African fellow sprinter. That was a bad one for Nigeria there at the Olympics. And not forgetting the fact that Favour Ofili was also denied the opportunity to stake claim for the gold medal in the 100 meters hurdle, 100 meters race, where she was, that happens to be her forte. But the Nigerian Athletics Federation goofed by not registering her for that event. Very laughable how you could forget to register your athlete in her best sport, talking about the 100 meters. We're still yet to hear from John Eno, talking about the Minister of Sport, what the repercussions would be for the NAFN. All right, still looking at the big stories from the Guardian newspaper. Let's see the other headlines from the Guardian. We've got headline stories coming from the Guardian side that we've Mpox, talking about the monkeypox, and this NCDC is talking this morning as regards the monkeypox ravaging the nation. And we've got international embarrassment, says Obi, as federal government moves to maneuver the jets that have been seized in France. Court orders forfeiture of £2 million, $2 million shares properties linked to Emefiele. Court orders forfeiture of $2 million shares and properties linked to Emefiele is the headline story. Senate defends running costs for lawmakers is the big headline story. And we've got address hardship to avert another protest. Odenta tells Tinubu, and Discos defend the tariff hike, claim Band A customers pay lowest rates in West Africa. All right, those are some of the big stories making the rounds on The Guardian. Let's go for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be looking at other papers making the rounds. Stay with us.
I want to go further to congratulate you on being on DSTV 365. Yeah, channel 365 is an awesome thing. Congratulations, and I will enjoy each and every one to keep on watching Global TV.
This is Global TV. For your current affairs, for your current information, ideas, education, entertainment news at the best. Channel 365 on DSTV. You have just come alive into a new phenomenon in the media industry. Keep watching. Stay tuned.
Keep watching Global Television on DSTV channel 365 for your news and all national issues and international breaking news. Watch Global TV.
All right, welcome back from the break. Queen Agaba joining us as we look at what the papers are saying this morning. How has it been, the rains coming upon us, blessings for the day?
Yeah, blessings for the day. Usually you'd expect that since we're in August, we'll have the August rain, August break, like they usually say. It came, I don't think we're observing the break, but the rains are unpredictable. It came heavy this morning, really heavy. Most parts of the city is flooded this morning with less vehicles on the road this morning as well. So those are the situation reports.
All right, obviously a lot of rains. The farmers across Nigeria obviously will be happy for the rains, especially for those who have made efforts to plant, and maybe for those who the security agencies have also are protecting, they would have the chance to have a bountiful harvest. All right, we're still looking at what the papers are saying, and we're moving on to the Punch newspaper. To see the punchy headline stories making the rounds, we've got federal government eyes pension funds in a $500 million bond issuance. That's one of the punchy headline stories coming from the Punch newspaper. We've got Mpox is the rider there. Federal government tightens border surveillance as cases hit 39. That's a headline story from the Punch newspaper. We've got court orders for future of Emefiele's $2.4 million Lagos Delta assets is the headline story coming from the Punch newspaper. And other headlines from the Punch, we've got Secretariat raid, NLC demands detained members release. That's the big story coming from the NLC. Yesterday they had a press conference denouncing the actions of the Nigerian police force. All right, we've got education. Educationist files a 11 billion naira suit against Sanwo-Olu over school demolition. Is the headline story coming from Lagos State. It says educationalist files 11 billion naira suit against Sanwo-Olu over school demolition. And that we've got other stories making the rounds. We've got NJC sent Kekere Ekun's name to Tinubu today. That's what the headline story it's saying this morning from the Punch newspaper. All right, you've got the Vanguard?
Yes, our next point of call will be the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, big story.
All right, let's see what the Vanguard is saying this morning. All right, Vanguard, big stories there. You have one of them?
Federal government, Ogun government, battle to recover seized presidential jet. The rider there says, just above the nameplate, we also have NUC recommends fallout of Kekere Ekun as CBN. Also.
All right, other stories there. We've got mixed reactions as federal government plans to boost external reserves with $500 million federal government bond. Then other headline stories, we've got monkeypox. Bielsa leads as NCDC confirms 39 cases in 33 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Those are some of the headlines. Are you worried about the fact that monkeypox finally is in Nigeria, and now it's going to be another battle by the NCDC and other medical facilities trying to battle this and save the country from monkeypox?
Yes, because of course, like the outbreak of cholera, which was more like was endemic, monkeypox as well is, and so it's a cause for concern as well. And we see how it's spreading across the various states in Nigeria. But as always, we have faith in the NCDC and relevant agencies to be able to combat this monkeypox at its earliest stage, seeing, response teams and how far we are taking this awareness, education, and sensitization concerning monkeypox. I'm worried because it's an endemic disease, but I believe that we would be able to curtail it.
All right. We have some other stories of interest, looking at the new NGC person, in the person of Kekere Ekun, who name has been forwarded, handpicked, and probably will be forwarded to Mr. President today. How big is the task for her to, knowing that the judiciary has a bad reputation, do you think it's going to be easy for a female? I'm not being gender sexist now, but the fact that I think it was a right move, giving a female a chance to lead the judiciary for a change, to see if we're going to see a better judiciary in terms of with integrity, less corruption, less conflicting verdicts and rulings.
Well, I think it's a cause for applause to see that a female will be leading the judiciary, one of its kind. But we've seen in other cases and in other areas where females led. We're not going to say that, top of the list is one of the females who, did well during her tenure. We had quite a number of women do brilliantly well. I know some people will say when they give females the chance, take the instance of Betta Edu, they do more, they squander the most, they siphon funds and all of that meant for specific. No, but that's just one of
them, because Dora Akunyili, for instance, it was amazing. After she left NAFDAC has not been the same.
Yes, absolutely. So we've seen women, the contributions of women change a sector, an agency, whatever it is that. So for women, for a woman leading the judiciary, it calls for celebration, and also I think it deserves applause because it's one of a kind, and I think that her contributions are going to be immense. We're going to see fairness in the judiciary, and I hope that she wouldn't let us down.
All right, we're hoping the very best for her as she takes reign and the president. Before we go for a break now, this fact that the Nigerian presidential jet, 3 of them, is about to be seized or is seized. The story, the reports we're getting of different shades. But the most important thing is the fact that the presidential jet, 3 of them in France, is about to be seized because of the deal that went south between Ogun State and a Chinese company. Do you think that's fair enough to want to the court in France making such pronouncement as to say a Chinese company has the right to seize presidential jet of a country? Would they do that to the U.S. if it was the U.S. That had a case with a company, just a mere company, and you want to seize a country's
presidential jet? Well, I don't think that would happen if it were to be in the U.S. But I don't know why this case is, peculiar, why this is different, as to have, a rifle there and then the presidential jet is being seized. That's the height of disregard for the president of a country as to want to seize his presidential jets. But the details of that encounter or that business or that deal are not open to us yet. So, but we would like to know what must have ensued to warrant you seizing that presidential jet? How and then we've not gotten any message from the president yet as to from the presidency as to.
Okay, yeah. Even though the presidency has said they had tried
clear?
in the past to resolve the issue between Ogun State and the company, and they're saying the presidency did not have any contract with the company. So even if they had issues with the Ogun State government, it does not give them the right to seize a Nigerian. That belongs to the country and not to the state. So, well, it just shows how much they do respect or look down on the African country or Nigeria, because that's a very sad commentary. But another very interesting talking point, like we said, it rained cat, dog, and every other animal today in the FCT and other parts of the country. NEMA is saying that 3.7 million persons in Kano residents at risk, and 362 communities are also at risk in Kano. How disturbing is that? We know that year after year, Kano, first of all, we know that Benue used to be a spot where flooding because of the river coastal area there, they always have this flooding. But the question is why do NEMA have to wait until the rains come upon us before they start sending out this alert? And why are people always still living within the banks of the river? For 3.7 million persons in Kano at risk, how scary would that be?
That's very alarming, Anthony, But I always say this, that if we wait for us if we continue to do things over and over again and expect a different result, it's foolishness. Because we always have, whenever it's the rainy season, we always have cases of flooding, particularly in Lagos, the Lekki axis of Lagos and other states. And then we expect that response team would be, quick to action, prepare ahead. For example, look at the loopholes in this year so that there will never be a repeat in the following year. While it's not good, we don't expect them to begin to dole out measures or advices when it's late. Take, for instance, when it's already flooded or it already gets into the very heavy rainy time when it gets flooded. We expect that strategies would have been mapped out already from last year to ensure what places were flooded, so that we don't have a repeat of that case again. And also awareness, but people can sometimes be insist to not move away from flooded areas because of the cost from areas that are prone to flood. Because I wouldn't tell me it's stubbornness or I think it's negligence. One of it should be negligence, and also them putting their lives at risk, maybe because of the cost of accommodation in places that are not at the riverbank. Maybe not so much attention is paid to people living at the riverbank and all of that. And so they would rather, and some of the people at the riverbank, their source of livelihood is
very close,
so they would rather remain there and not live in areas that are not flood prone. But measures should be taken. Their lives are more important than whatever business it is they're doing. If they're not alive, they will not be able to do business, fish, or do whatever transaction by the riverbank. But it is expected that NEMA and relevant agencies and authorities should do the needful this year now. Look at the loopholes, look at the places that are flooded, look at the things that you need to put in place, look at strategies that you need to employ to ensure that by next year we're not talking about flood again in these same areas or in these same cities.
All right, Westside, we hope NEMA can hear Queen Agaba loud and clear, do the needful so that Nigerians are not at risk, especially with 3.7 million Kano residents at risk, with 326 communities at risk. It's a big tall order for NEMA, especially the state command, to deal with. All right, it's time for us to get some business news. So we'll go for a quick break. And while we go for that break, we have business rolling in. Then when we return, we'll give you more updates. Stay with us.
Nigeria's headline inflation rate decreased to 33.40% in July 2024, down from 34.19% in June 2024. This marks the first decline in the headline inflation rate since December 2022, when it last dropped to 21.34%. The latest inflation rate figures are based on the National Bureau of Statistics CPI report for July 2024. According to the report, the headline inflation rate decreased by 0.79 percentage points in July 2024 compared to June 2024. On a year-on-year basis, the rate was 9.32 percentage points higher than in July 2023, when it stood at 24.08%. This indicates an increase in the headline inflation rate on a year-on-year basis for July 2024 compared to the same month in the previous year. Additionally, on a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate in July 2024 was 2.28%, slightly lower than 2.31% recorded in June 2024. The food and non-alcoholic beverages contributed 17.30% to the year-on-year inflation, followed by housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuel at 5.59% and others. The federal government of Nigeria plans to issue its dollar-denominated domestic bond next week Monday, as it hopes to raise $500 million from local and foreign investors. Dr. Gbadebo Adeunrile, Managing Director of Investment Banking at United Capital Group, disclosed these during a high-bid roadshow with investors organized by the Debt Management Office. This is the first of its kind in the country. The bond offers bullet repayment at maturity in US dollars, with full repayment of principal amount at the end of the 5-year term. Seplat Nigerian PLC has crossed the 4,000 Naira share price for the first time ever, marking a 9% gain in early trading on Thursday. Data from early hour trading reveals that the company's share price is trading at 4,013 Naira with a net bid position of over 70,000 shares. The company's share price opened at 3,682.9 Naira per share on Wednesday, since dipping to a low of 1,008 Naira in November 2022. Seplat Nigeria has strongly maintained a bullish trend that saw it close in the green for the 10 consecutive months spanning from May 2023 to February 2024. The stock market volume, which has been steadily increasing for several weeks, reached its highest level since the second week of April, with a value of 1.08 million shares since closure in the trading week beginning July 28, 2024. At a new high of 4,013 Naira, Seplat's shares price has increased by 74% compared to the closing price of the stock in December 2024 at 2,310 Naira. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
All right, welcome back from the world of business. Now you've got the statistics and the movers and shakers, like they say in the world of business. It's now time for us to return back to the papers as we head towards the Global AM News. Let's see what this day has in store for us in terms of the big headline stories.
Well, on the front page, big story on this day, we have NSA. First of all, World Health Organization declares emergency over monkeypox. NSA attempts to disrupt peaceful conduct of Edo Gobo poll will be met with full force. NSA says attempts to disrupt peaceful conduct of Edo Gobo poll will be met with full force. Federal government implementation of zero duty VAT exemption on selected food items, says new policy takes effect today, expected to crash food prices. Before I go to other stories,
okay. The food
the food crashes. This new policy is expected to,
kickstart today,
and we're going to see, according to the government, there's the federal government, that this policy would crash food prices starting today. Is expected to, the policy that's about to start today is expected to crash the prices of food. You and I know how much food items have become expensive. How expensive it is on a daily basis. You go to buy a food item today, and by tomorrow when you're returning,
I tell you, in hours.
Anthony says in hours. But how much faith do you have in this policy as expecting a crash in prices?
I think it's more like how much sincerity would those who bring in these food items have towards their fellow Nigerians. Once the VAT is removed, like the federal government have promised, what it means, the high cost of bringing in the products, transportation would drastically reduce. So, but it's the sincerity of those market forces, the traders now to come implement same for those who will be buying. That's where the problem is. That's why Nigerians have consistently called for a price control board, so that when such policies come into being and certain those who buy in large quantity comes and buy and do not reflect that reduction in the marketplaces, those from the price control board can go around, ensure that the prices actually crashes. But we hope this, now that it's announced, we also hope not just announcing, the federal government should also put mechanism in place to ensure that it's domesticated across board for the states, the local governments, markets, big markets, those who purchase in large volumes, ensure that there's a caveat to ensure that they prove that this VAT that is removed, they sell in reduced prices. I think it's going to be key. That's the only way Nigerians are going to feel the effect and know that, okay, truly the government is making efforts to ensure that cost of living reduces. But for me, I think it's a good one. But, most times when government says something, it takes another 24, 48, 72 hours for the implementation of such policies, especially when it benefits the common man.
Yeah, absolutely. And my major concern is now that this policy is expected to crash the prices, let us see a crash at all levels in all markets. Let's see uniformity with the prices. Prices of garri or other essentials are crashing to, let's say, 1,000 naira. Let us not see a case where it's
just 100 naira
difference. So let's see that other markets, people in other states as well, we're seeing a relative price range across board. So I think more work needs to be done in terms of price regulation. I tell you for the fact because I was in the market a few weeks ago and I got talking with market women, and their major concerns were not just the fact that the prices have increased, one of which is that the prices have increased, but not exclusive to that alone. The fact that they buy, it's so unregulated. They buy from this person at this
different
amount of, everybody literally selling at their own price. Whatever it is they want to sell for. So their concerns are that the market prices should be regulated.
Okay. And I think, just to add to what you've said, there's need for such policies that have been implemented today too, for those in the market space to hear and know that this is happening. Because when they know this is happening and their customers come with that same amount of money for them to pay, they can now say, no, we know the government has done X, Y, Z, so this is supposed to be the current or the new rates. So that's another way to checkmate those, the very dubious, that would not want to implement the new rates, knowing fully well that those in the market at the lower level might not have that information to know that things have changed. So I think it's very key.
Yeah. MAN, still on the front page of this day newspaper, MAN, that is Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, lending rate to Anthony.
Yeah, when you said MAN, I was praying you let the world know what this man represents.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had to let them know that Manufacturers Association of Nigeria say lending rate to manufacturers rose from 28.6% to 35% in Q2 2024. Rider says continuous hike in MPR tightening conditions for productive sector. Naira will gain if Nigerian manufacturers own weapons. Argues, okay, Minister of Defense argues. Now this is hilarious, but I think
Bello Matawali, he seems, he makes statements at times I just, he's in government, so he would always say things in support of the government, but this, I don't quite understand what he means. If
Nigeria owns manufacturers own weapons, he says Naira will gain if manufacturers own weapons, urges Defense Minister.
All right, though he has been talking about the fact that African countries are coming to purchase weapons from the defense corporation in Nigeria that produces weapons, and so he says we're doing great. But at the same time, we're producing weapons, but our military, at times we hear them say they're lacking the needed weapons to fight the Boko Harams and all that, or the weapons they have are substandard. So the question is, why are they not, why are we not winning the war if we were able to produce very good weapons that African countries come to buy from us? But let's see, it's a very delicate sector, talking about the security sector. That takes us to new Ribado's claims that says attempts to disrupt Edo and Ondo polls will be met by force. I think the Nigerian government seem to be, they seem to talk more like a military government. Their actions seem to always predict doom or violence coming. If they've got details or intelligence as regards that there are plans by certain persons to disrupt the Edo elections, I think they should be quiet about it, do it in a quiet way, go about the business of arresting, those culprits or suspects without making so much noise, because when you already hint them of what is to come, making them a little bit prepared ahead of time. So let's see how that goes, and we hope that this same measure, I wish they use this same measure and force and sternness to fight the Boko Harams, the criminality and banditry in the country. I think Nigeria would be in a better place.
Absolutely. Keyamo leads delegation to Europe over Abuja's second runway project. That's the last story we have on this day newspaper. Let's take a look at the Daily Times for you. On the front page of the Daily Times newspaper, big story there says, French court seizes Nigerian presidential jet over $74.5 million dispute.
All right, we've got Tinubu urges African leaders to address exodus of skills and talent. Very interesting. Urging African leaders where his country leads the pack in terms of Jagba syndrome. And this comment reminds me of when President Muhammadu Buhari was to visit Ghana to address them on banditry and terrorism when Nigeria was at its height of terrorism. So you wonder, what are you going to tell people when you're yet to get yours sorted out? But let's see, saying that to the African leaders is a good thing, and I hope he'll be able to get those jackpotting from Nigeria back to the country.
Yeah, and we have NJC recommends Justice Kudirat Kekereekun as Chief Justice of Nigeria. NEMA advises immediate revocation as flood hits 27 states. Warns 362 vulnerable communities at high risk of flood in Kano. Also, don't mystify Tinubu, Clark tells Igbo appointees.
Okay, that's interesting. You had the smile on your face.
EFCC seeks specialized courts to try cases of oil theft, vandalism. Anthony, you want to react to the statement by the clerk to Igbo appointees, not to mystify Tinubu?
I quite don't understand what he means.
Context of that.
But don't mystify Tinubu. It's and when it has to do with people of the southeast, I think it's unfair when it looks like the Nigerian government or the Nigerian people, whenever there's an appointment for someone from the southeast, it looks like they're doing them a favor. They're part of the country, and as such, I think if we continue this route of always making it look like, okay, there's something, they've done a great deal to the people of the southeast by giving them a sensitive appointment, then that divide or that seeming cold war between the southeast and other regions of the country would continue. And I think it's best when the federal government and the other regions begin to see the southeast as a very essential component of the country, Nigeria, because they play a very pivotal role in terms of productivity of the country and diversification of Nigeria's wealth and income generation skills. So I think that's more that I can say as regards that particular talking point.
Absolutely. Our next point of call will be the Sun, the Daily Sun, Daily Sun newspaper. Big story on the Daily Sun says federal government fights back over seized presidential jets. Okay. Rider says alleges deliberate attempt by Chinese firm to embarrass Tinubu. Says assets representing sovereignty immune from such action. It is national embarrassment, Obi says, and then we're on the matter. Ogun government response. Ogun government says they are on the matter.
I think they're on the matter too late. Letting the country being embarrassed this way, it's very sad. It just tells you the antics of state governors when they go out and sign contracts and deals which they don't keep to their own end of the bargain, and puts the country in bad light. Very disturbing. Obi has said it's an embarrassment to the country. But let's see how it's going to be resolved. We expect that the federal government will do all it can to ensure that the three presidential jets are not seized, especially with the fact, unless it's going to be, because we know that recently there was a talk about Nigeria purchasing a new presidential jet for the country.
You know, I'm beginning to wonder and ask him, how this Chinese firm was able to gain access to be able to seize the presidential jets. Where, at what point, how is it possible that they had, access to that presidential jet?
That's an interesting one. So that question actually is a very vital question, because what it technically means is it that the presidential jets were in France, and so because that's the only way that court order would make it possible for them to seize it at the hangar. So it's that's a very interesting one. So that means we had our jets in France.
The presidential jet in France.
What's he doing there? Who's paying for every day that it stays in the hangar in France? That's a whole lot. And so it tells you lots of issues around that that we need to talk about. We had one of the government officials saying it was a ploy to embarrass the government. I don't know, every time something goes amiss, they want to I think it's more like, make psychophancy around there and say it's because the president. It's not about Mr. President, it's about the country.
Yes.
But when you make it look at everything about the president, then you lose the sight of what we're talking about, or what the focus is Nigeria that is being affected with that very sad commentary there as regards presidential jets being seized by a company, not even a country. All right, I think that's how much we have for the papers. Have one more?
We have one more paper that we need to look at, and it's the New Telegraph. The New Telegraph. Big stories on monkeypox. NCDC places Lagos, Abuja, others on red alert as Nigeria records 39 cases. I mean, Lagos, Abuja are on red alert. Rider says, first case of more dangerous virus found outside Africa. Also, we have big story. That's a big story on the New Telegraph. And underneath that place, we have contracts dispute. Chinese firm trying to fraudulently seize Nigeria's assets, according to the presidency. We've talked about that. And lastly, NLC, that's invasion. Invasion. NLC threatens strike if federal government police fail to apologize. These are the stories we have on the front page of the New Telegraph. And we have one more. Crude oil. Federal government unveils subcommittee on Naira transactions. That's the much we can take this morning on our newspaper review. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll bring you the Global AM News. Please stay with us.
I want to go further to congratulate you on being on DSTV 365. Channel 365 is an awesome thing. Congratulations, and I will enjoy each and every one to keep on watching Global TV.
This is Global TV. For your current affairs, for your current information, ideas, education, entertainment news at the best. Channel 365 on DSTV. You have just come alive into a new phenomenon in the media industry. Keep watching. Stay tuned.
Keep watching Global Television on DSTV channel 365 for your news and all national issues and international breaking news. Watch Global TV.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365. President Bola Tinubu has employed African leaders to make more strategic and deliberate efforts to address the exodus of skills and talent from Africa. These efforts include stemming tribalism, rewarding performance, and reforming archaic judicial system. Speaking at a dinner held in honor at the People's Palace in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, President Tinubu says leaders must encourage research and development with the provision of appropriate rewards. The presidency says the efforts of Chinese company Zhongshan Fengcheng Industrial Investment Co. Limited to take over some jets on Nigeria's presidential air fleet are fraudulent. This was contained in a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. Onanuga was responding to earlier reports that a French court had sanctioned the seizure of 3 Nigerian presidential jets, including a newly purchased Airbus, amid a legal dispute between Zhongshan and the Ogun State government. The Armed Forces of Nigeria says troops on the front line across troubled areas in Nigeria have neutralized 147 terrorists, arresting 381 persons. Director Defense Media Operations Major General Edward Buba made this known while keeping journalists abreast with the operational activities of the troops in the theater of operations. Kikelomo Okere has the details.
The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says troops also arrested 23 perpetrators of oil theft and rescued 113 kidnapped hostages. He further stated that in the last 2 weeks, the armed forces has rejigged war against crude oil theft operations in the Niger Delta region, which has begun to yield noticeable increase in the nation's crude oil production.
Accordingly, troops will sustain the renewed vigor and momentum till the nation's crude oil production target is achieved and exceeded.
General Buba further stated that the ongoing operation across other parts of the country remain focused on defeating and killing the enemy wherever they are.
Troops neutralized 147 terrorists and arrested 381 of them. We also arrested 23 perpetrators of oil theft and rescued 113 kidnapped hostages during the period under review.
The Military High Command, however, urged the citizens to collaborate with the armed forces to win the war against insurgency. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
In a significant step towards enhancing Nigeria's defense capabilities and achieving self-reliance in military hardware production, the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Ministry of Defense. The Executive Vice Chairman of NACINI, Khalil Suleiman Halilu, says the signing of the MOU is in the quest to strengthen defense infrastructure through indigenous innovation and technological advancement. Kikelomo Okere has details.
During the MOU signing ceremony, the Executive Vice Chairman of NACINI, Khalil Suleiman Halilu, highlighted the importance of the military industry complex as not just a strategic initiative but a national imperative. Khalil emphasized that in the rapidly evolving global security environment, it is critical for Nigeria to position itself to address emerging threats and homegrown solutions.
The goal is to create a robust ecosystem that does not only support the needs of the armed forces, but also foster growth of the local industries, thereby reducing our dependencies on foreign imports.
It says the MOU represents the beginning of a long-term collaboration aimed at enhancing and creating a robust ecosystem that supports the need of the Nigerian Armed Forces while fostering the growth of local industries, thereby reducing reliance on foreign imports.
We can work together for the betterment of Nigeria. Today, NASEMI, Ministry of Defense, and our parastatal, DICOM, is signing an MOU for the production of arms and ammunition, research and development in the areas of defense and military infrastructure.
The MOU represents the beginning of a long-term collaboration aimed at enhancing our defense capabilities through innovation and indigenous production. It is our firm belief that through this partnership we will lay the foundation of a self-reliant defense industry that can meet the needs of our armed forces and contribute to Nigeria's economic growth.
It is expected that the Memorandum of Understanding will elevate Nigeria's defense capability and contribute to the broader goal of national security and economic development. Stakeholders present to witness the signing of this landmark agreement include the Minister of State for Defense, Dr. Bello Mitawali, the Minister of Steel Development, Shuaibu Abubakar Audu, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defense, Dr. Ibrahim Abubakar Kana, senior officers of the Armed Forces. Kelomo Ukeri, Global Television News.
The National Judicial Council have recommended Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun to be the next Chief Justice of Nigeria. The recommendation was made in its 106th meeting, which was presided over by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, who recommended Justice Kekere-Ekun to President Bola Tinubu for appointment as the next Chief Justice of Nigeria. This is contained in a statement by the NJC Director of Information, Soji Oye. The National Emergency Management Agency has warned that 362 vulnerable communities in 14 local government areas in Kano State are at high risk of flood. NEMA's Director General Zubaida Omar made this known at a one-day stakeholders meeting in Kano. Omar, who was represented by NEMA Territorial Coordinator Kano's office, Dr. Nuruddin Abdullahi, says the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, AFO, has predicted a population of 3,749,200 were at risk of flood in the state. The chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmood Yakubu, has called on security agencies to remain vigilant and ensure the smooth conduct of Edo and Ondo governorship elections. Yakubu made this call at the meeting of Inter-Agency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Abuja. Michael Edikan has the details.
The chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmood Yakubu, emphasized on the need to protect the election materials, personnel, and polling activities while reminding our security forces to adhere to the rules of engagement for electoral duties. Yakubu therefore urged political parties, candidates, and their supporters to maintain civility as campaigns intensify, while emphasizing that peaceful campaigns are critical for ensuring peaceful elections in Edo and Ondo State.
For the security agencies, this is the time to be more vigilant. You should leave no stone unturned in dealing with any real or potential threat to the conduct of peaceful and transparent elections.
In his remarks, the National Security Advisor, Nahu Rabidu, issued a stern warning cautioning against any attempt to disrupt the upcoming governorship election in Edo State. With the election just over a month away, Rabidu emphasized that the government is fully committed to ensuring peaceful and credible polls. The NSO, who also serves as co-chair of the Inter-Agency Consultative Committee on Election Security, addressed the political tensions already surfacing in the state, noting the presence of inter- and intra-party dispute. Ribadu, represented by the Director of Internal Security in the office of the NSA, Hassan Abdullahi, stressed that any interference with the elections will be treated as an assault on the nation's democratic values.
And anyone attempting to disrupt the conduct of the elections will face the full wrath of the law. Law enforcement agencies are on high alert and ready to swiftly and decisively deal with anyone trying to undermine the polls.
The Edo and Ondo governorship polls is slated for September 21st, 2024 and November 16, 2024, respectively. Edikan Michael, Global TV News.
The wife of Imo State Governor Chioma Uzodimma has called on women not to allow anyone to be a barrier to breastfeeding their babies. At the 2024 World Breastfeeding Week in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the First Lady encouraged women on exclusive breastfeeding. Global Television correspondent brings you details.
Breastfeeding is often called liquid gold, and for a good reason. It provides essential nutrients to babies. These and several other reasons brought together women from across Imo State to mark this year's World Breastfeeding Day with a clarion call to promote exclusive breastfeeding.
0 to 6 months, amongst workers, our mothers and expectant mothers in our various communities, offices and so forth. Together, let us make exclusive breastfeeding.
Wife of the Governor of Imo State, Barrister Chioma Uzodimma, who was represented by the Commissioner for Women Affairs, Nkechi Ugu, urged women to remain resolute in ensuring proper breastfeeding of their babies across the state.
In our culture also, life is valued and children are cherished. Therefore, the culture has always been open to things that support life, and breastfeeding is one of them.
For breastfeeding mothers in Imo, an event like this gives them hope of a brighter future for their nursing children. Traco.
Breastfeeding will make my child to know when things are done right and when things are not done right, because when I give them only breast milk and I'm impacting natural milk into their brains, it will build their system, it will build their brain to grow more and more.
Highlights of the celebration include presentation of gift from wife of the Governor of the Breastfeeding Mothers, cultural dance and 60 seconds breastfeeding competition by the breastfeeding mothers, amongst others.
In response to the controversies surrounding the counter-subversion bill and other related draft legislation, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, withdrew the piece of legislation. The clauses of the bill, which had only passed for first reading, surfaced in both traditional and online media, sparking controversies. The bill proposed a 25-year imprisonment or 10 million naira fine, or both, for any person convicted of making a statement or taking an action that leads to separatist agitation or intergroup or sectional conflict in the country. The Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, through the National Health Insurance Authority, has disbursed 63 billion naira under the Basic Health Care Provision Fund since the program began in 2019. This was disclosed during a presentation by the representatives of the Director General of NHIA, Dr. Kelechi Ohiri, at a media engagement in Abuja. According to the NHIA, all 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, have established state social insurance agencies. The United Nations Children's Fund and its partner have donated an oxygen plant and oxygen delivery device to the General Hospital in Eleme local government area of Rivers State. The plant can produce 720,000 liters of oxygen daily. Speaking at the commissioning and the handing over of the plant, UNICEF Nigeria country representative Christine Munduete says the initiative follows a comprehensive nationwide assessment of oxygen needs in health facilities across 36 states of the country and the Federal Capital Territory. Munduete further says the initiative is in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Health, Nigeria, the Canadian government and the Rivers State government. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund said it will constantly review the 20,000 naira monthly stipends to Nigerian students based on economic realities. The Director of Corporate Communications of the fund, Oseyemi Oluwatoyi, made this known in an interview with our correspondent in Abuja. Apart from institutional fees, applicants for student loans also have the opportunity of applying for upkeep loans. While institutional fees are paid directly into the accounts of institutions, the upkeep is paid directly into the account of the applicant. The Executive Chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, Jalal Arabi, and the Commission Secretary, Abdullahi Kontogara, are currently in the custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission over the alleged mismanagement of the 90 billion naira 2024 Hajj subsidy. In a document, the anti-graft agency says a total of 314,098 Saudi Royal was recovered from the NACON chairman and other ranking officials. The Bauchi Emirate Council has stripped Senator Shehu Umar Buba of his traditional title, Majin Dadin Bauchi, over alleged disrespect to Governor Bala Mohammed. Buba, who represents Bauchi South Senatorial District in the National Assembly, is a member of the All Progressive Congress APC, while Bauchi is under the control of the People's Democratic Party PDP. The lawmaker recently criticized Bauchi governor for tackling President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the recent #EndBadGovernance protests. Governor Hyacinth Alia of Benue State has warned the All Progressive Congress APC faction led by State Chairman Austin Agada of impending consequences if they proceeded with their scheduled meeting at the party secretariat. It was reported that the party secretariat along JS Taka Road in Makurdi was heavily besieged by security operatives and condoned off from both ends of the road by stick-wielding youths who diverted traffic into the railway station market access. Aliyah, however, in a statement by his spokesman, Teso Kula, denied knowledge of the APC State Executive Committee meeting announced and widely publicized by the Agadas faction scheduled for yesterday. The Finnish government has assured Nigeria of collaboration on the case of the factional leader of the separatist indigenous people of Biafra, Simon Ekpa, who resides in Finland. Finland's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Elina Votunen, provided these assurances during a press briefing in Abuja. Ekpa, who resides in Finland, leads a faction of the IPOB known as Autopilot, which has been pushing for the creation of an independent state of Biafra, encompassing Nigeria's southeast and parts of the south-south regions. You're watching Global AM News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, on food crisis, military deploys troops in northwest, north central farms. Please stay with us. Welcome back. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. In business, President Bola Tinubu and Equatorial Guinean President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo have signed an agreement on the Gulf of Guinea pipeline project. The agreement covered legislative and regulatory measures for the gas pipeline establishment and operation, transit of natural gas, ownership of gas pipeline, and general principles. Speaking at the event, President Tinubu, who is on a 3-day official visit to Equatorial Guinea, says the signing of the agreement will open up new opportunities for gas exploration and employment. The Defense Headquarters says troops have been deployed across farms in the northern part of the country, especially in the northwest and north central. According to the Military High Command, the deployment is to ensure the adequate protection of farmers from bandits, terrorists, and other criminal elements. It was reported that farmers have been a major target for bandits and terrorists who levied them indiscriminately, destroyed their produce, kidnapped, and even killed them in some instances. And moving to the education sector. The Academic Staff Union of Universities has cried out against the huge power bills paid by universities in the country, estimated at 275 billion naira annually. Following the recent increase in electricity tariff, the national president, ASU Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, called for per-unit billing as the university's power bill rose by 300%, hitting 21.480 billion naira monthly. The universities are under Band A, where customers enjoy electricity for at least 20 hours daily. However, many of the universities have cried out over the soaring electricity bills following the new policy. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has disclosed that another 63 illegal refineries were discovered and confiscated in the past week. It was revealed in a documentary that the fight against oil theft was yielding results. According to the NNPC, about 177 incidences were recorded between August 3rd and 9th by different incident sources. It noted that during the week under review, 19 illegal pipeline connections were recovered, while some underwent repairs across several locations in Bayelsa and Rivers states. On the foreign scene, Venezuelan CNE Electoral Council is under fire after declaring a widely rejected election victory for President Nicolas Maduro, described the UN report disputing the outcome as rife with lies. The CNE proclaimed Maduro the winner with 52% of votes cast in a July 28 poll, without providing a detailed breakdown. Maduro's victory has been rejected by the opposition, the United States, European Union, and several Latin American countries. Anti-Maduro protests in Venezuela have claimed 25 lives so far, with dozens injured and more than 2,400 arrested. The United States President Joe Biden shared a key economic victory with Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris after securing a cut in drug prices that could resonate with U.S. voters worried about the cost of living. The 81-year-old president and 59-year-old vice president announced the deal as they prepared to make their first joint trip since Biden's seismic decision to drop out of the presidential election less than a month ago. In a joint statement released by the White House, says the historic agreement with drug makers will reduce the price of 10 key medicines for seniors, for conditions including diabetes, heart failure, and blood clots. And jumping into the exciting world of sports, the Minister of Sports Development, John Enoh, has announced plans to thoroughly investigate the cause of Nigeria's performance at the recent Paralympics. Enoh disclosed that he will soon receive a report on the matter, expressing his disappointment that Team Nigeria returned from Olympics without securing a medal. He attributed the loss to a lack of motivation, despite the fact that all Nigerian athletes participating in the games were well compensated. The draw for the 2024-2025 Carabao Cup round 2 has been confirmed, splitting the competition into northern and southern sections. This stage sees the entry of Burnley, Luton Town, and 13 other Premier League clubs not involved in European competitions, alongside the winners from round 1. According to the EFL, round 2 ties will be played in the week commencing August 26, 2024, with excitement building as teams vie for the prestigious trophy. And that's how we call it a wrap on the Global AM News that came to you from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Anthony Momodu. Thank you for watching.